This last year, I have taken a complete break from boys, sex, kissing. I wanted to feel free. I wanted to feel liberated. Even the parts of this that I'm enjoying aren't even about me. It did not liberate me from anything. It just bound me to something different. Christian culture expectations. I'm just so tired of feeling bound by things. Hello friends. So in today's video, I just wanted to sit and chat with you a little bit. I wanted to kind of talk about a bigger thing that I have been learning and trying to kind of readjust and change in my heart and in my life. And I figured that the best way to do it would just be to sit down with a cup of coffee, and I got my candle lit back there and trying to make my little space feel cozy. And I just want to talk as a friend, and I know that this is something that every single person has experienced and struggled with and asked questions about, and probably had some guilt or shame in this area. And I do not have the answers. I'm going to be talking a lot about sex and relationships and God, and I do not have the answers. I'm still very much in the learning phase and the growing phase, and I still have so many questions, but I do feel like over this last year I have learned so much. So I want to start it with saying that this last year I have taken a complete break from boys, sex, kissing, dating, even texting boys in like a romantic way. I wanted to take a 6-month break after my last relationship, and so I did that. No dating at all. After 6 months, I reactivated my online dating profile, but I've just felt no desire to go on there and to swipe through people, and it's just felt gross and boring, and I've taken that as a sign that right now I'm just not in that headspace of looking for that. A little bit of my background with sex and relationships and stuff. I grew up really conservative in this area of my life, to where dating and relationships, anything romantically related, was very much scary and felt like it was wrong and bad, and that God would be disappointed in me if I actually did date, or if I did date and like someone, then for some reason it felt like I was weak because I was like boy crazy, or the feelings that I was having around dating someone was like, I don't know, somehow weak. Like somehow in the Christian culture that I was raised in, it felt like the single girls that were waiting for marriage, that were holding strong, that were keeping their high standards, that somehow that was a badge of honor for me. And so it made it feel like I could never even date or feel sexy or feel romantic or anything like that. So I hit a point where I was just so tired of feeling stuck that I wanted to feel free. I wanted to feel liberated. That's the best word that I can describe. I wanted to feel liberated, and I was so tired of feeling contained and so tired of feeling held back and stuck, and I just wanted to feel like I was moving forward in my life. So I went in the complete opposite direction, and for several years just kind of decided to not have sex mean anything and be with whoever I wanted. And honestly, during that time, it felt like sex didn't mean anything. Like literally nothing. I didn't really have any guilt about it. I didn't really have any shame, or didn't feel like a big deal at all. Like it just felt like scratching an itch or doing what everyone else was doing, and it just didn't feel like a big thing at all. So then for those years, I just kept being sexually active with whoever I wanted, and it just literally meant nothing. Until last year, when everything else started to change in my life. If you've been in this channel, you've been able to see that literally every single part of my life has changed in the last year. With my relationship, with stopping drinking, with getting rid of so much stuff. And one of those things that I felt like God wanted to clear off the slate was this idea of meaningless sex or meaningless relationships. Broke up with the guy that I had been seeing, and that was the most like lightning bolt sort of realization from God that this is done and you're moving on to something different. I just had blind obedience in that, and so I just broke up with him, and then after that I just started to really think about what I wanted sex to be and who I am naturally and who I was created to be in God. Like, how would I enjoy sex? Because that was another realization that I had, was I wasn't actually enjoying these interactions at all. I was enjoying the chase. I was enjoying the attention. I was enjoying feeling pursued. I was enjoying the validation that brought me, the validation of that I felt beautiful, that I felt sexy, that I felt wanted, that I felt useful. As gross as that sounds, there was something validating in that, and had this light bulb moment of even the parts of this that I'm enjoying aren't even about me. The second that I felt like I maybe wasn't wanted anymore, or that I wasn't attractive anymore, or that I wasn't desired in a sexual way, it felt like such gut-wrenching rejection. And it made me crazy. And it made me so bound to this idea of I have to be attractive, I have to be wanted, I have to be loved, I have to have not just the guy that I'm with, but like every guy that I've dated, and I want them all to think that I'm worthy and wanted, and so I felt like I was getting myself in these situations where I was almost dating the guys that didn't notice me in high school and didn't notice me as, you know, middle school or whatever, like when I was younger. Those guys that overlooked me, that dated other girls, it was like I was wanting to date that type of specific guy, the cool guy. And a lot of those cool guys, they don't change after high school. Like, they get their validation from that sense of not being tied down and not being too into a girl, and keeping that cool guy persona. And so I was walking myself into these situations where I was constantly getting rejected and constantly And even if it wasn't like a physical rejection of like breaking up or something like that, it was like these little moments of them not accepting the real me, not accepting the parts of me that I actually thought were the best parts of me, like my heart and my brain and my mind and my love for people. Like that's the real me. That's the best part of me. And being in those relationships and seeing that those people thought that that was nothing, it felt like rejection in that. And so I just decided that I wanted to take a step back from sex, and that the next time I am in a relationship or a dynamic like that, I wanted to feel like there was a sense of security and commitment and covenant, and because that's who I am. And regardless of if it's outside of like Christian culture expectations or what a good Christian girl would do, or regardless of what those rules are, this last year has showed me that I'm not going to ever enjoy those interactions unless I feel like it's an outpouring of love, unless I feel like it's me and that person bonding on more than just a physical level, that's on a emotional and a spiritual level, that we're a team, that we're a partnership. And I don't think that I'm ever going to actually enjoy, especially who I am now. I think who I was before, I was so willing to chase any sort of instant gratification, any sort of quick fix, any sort of quick validation of that I'm wanted, that I'm beautiful, that I am chosen. And that was such an easy way of achieving that. And I just don't think who I am now would find value in that, because I've seen in those relationships and in those situations that was just such a temporary infatuation with me. It was such a temporary surface level attraction and look at me. And it was actually something that I felt like disrespected the part of me that is the real me, like my heart and my mind and my thoughts and my dreams. And it was like that part of me was getting smushed every time I was having an interaction like that with a guy. And I am just so tired of feeling bound by things. Why I chose to be sexually active and with a bunch of different guys, it was because I was wanting to be liberated. And looking back now that I've had some space from that, I can see that it did not liberate me from anything. It just bound me to something different. And what I felt like was becoming free, what I felt like was becoming this like untamed and like a wilder version of myself, it wasn't actually anything that was liberating. It wasn't actually anything that was freeing me from anything. It was just binding me to a new mask, to a new false identity, to a new ball and chain. And now that I see that, for one, I don't blame myself at all for choosing that. And I think that a lot of girls or people that have grown up being that kind of teacher's pet, Christian nice girl, trying to do everything perfect, I don't blame those girls, and I don't blame myself for wanting liberation. Of course I would want that. Of course I would want that freedom, because that is who God made me to be, is someone that desires true freedom and to live wildly and to not be put in a box by any sort of culture. And so at the time it felt like that was the only way that I knew how to get out of that culture, was to choose a different culture and to bind myself to that. But now looking back that I see that both were equally enslaving, I don't want either. I don't want to be bound to any sort of false identity. I want to be liberated in a way that is true and that sticks, that is outside of what the rest of the world says is freedom and what makes me attractive and beautiful and wantable, or what outside of what the religion makes me attractive or wantable or worthy. Both are made by man, and I want God to tell me what makes me worthy and what makes me me. And having that space, that total space from any sort of dating, any sort of relationship, I think has really helped heal that in me. And it's interesting now, I feel like I'm at the place where I can at least see that I was enslaved by both, where I didn't see that when I was in the middle of it. But now I'm at the place where I'm seeing, okay, all of those relationships and dynamics, whether I was dating a guy that was, Christian or not Christian, all of those dynamics, all of those like sexual encounters, there were so many of them that made me feel so embarrassed and so ashamed of like who I am and what I have to offer, and not good enough and unworthy. And I don't think that that's how sex is meant to feel. There was no safety in any of those dynamics and any of those relationships. There was no love in any of those relationships. And I can see now the damage that was done in that, and how I still view myself and how I still see myself. And that is something that just this last month I feel like God has been putting on my heart and showing me the hurt that's still there. And I feel like he's been asking me to ask him for healing. And he's been showing all of these lies that I still believe, all of these things that I still view in myself, that I still assume will happen in a future relationship, and lies that just make me not even want to get close to being in a relationship. And it's like he's been saying, like, I want to heal those things. I want to completely get full redemption in those areas of your heart and in those areas of your life. I just need you to trust that I can do that. And I've been in this place where I've had to be honest with God and tell him, I don't know if you can do it, because these things are so embedded in me, not just from those relationships, but even before, that I believed about myself, that I believed that I wasn't worthy in a way. Or how can you heal a lie that I've believed my whole life? I keep thinking of that verse in Ephesians 3:20 that says, our God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ask or think. And that verse has just been in my mind. And I think that it just hit me in the face that I've realized that I don't believe that he can exceed my expectations and bless me and heal me abundantly. And I want to believe that. I want that revelation. I want that understanding of who he is. I want him to show me who he is in that way. So that's just something that I've been praying about and working through. I would love to hear some of your guys' stories with healing from past relationships or things that you've struggled with like that. Like whether you're a Christian or not, like whether you have any sort of relationship with God or not. I want to hear what you girls have experienced and how did you move forward and fully let go of those lies that those relationships created in your heart. I would love to hear that as I'm working through this and praying through this and healing through these things myself. So I think that's all. I love you guys and thanks for being here and being along with me as I'm growing and changing, because there's been a lot of it lately. It's been a wild ride. So I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.